The glass shattered like a scream in the dead of night, shards exploding across the hardwood floor of my Brooklyn walk-up as the intruder kicked in the back door. I bolted upright in bed, heart slamming against my ribs, fumbling for my phone in the dark. 911, my thumb hovering, whispering hoarsely into the void. Someone's in my house. By the time the sirens wailed closer, slicing through the relentless patter of rain on the fire escape, I'd barricaded myself in the bathroom, clutching a baseball bat like it was my last lifeline, the metallic tang of fear thick on my tongue. The door to my apartment creaked open downstairs, heavy boots thudding with purpose against the stairs. Methodical, unyielding. "NYPD. Show yourself!" A voice boomed, deep and steady, cutting through the chaos like a lighthouse beam in fog. I pressed my ear to the wood, breath shallow, as muffled scuffles echoed, grunts, a thud, then silence that stretched eternal. When the knock came at the bathroom door, soft but insistent, I froze. "Sir? It's Officer Reyes. The intruder's in cuffs. You're safe now." I cracked the door, bat still gripped white-knuckled. And there he was, mid-30s, broad-shouldered in that navy uniform that hugged just right, dark hair slicked back from the rain, eyes like polished obsidian holding mine without flinching, Hispanic features sharpened by the hallway's fluorescent buzz, a jawline that could cut glass, but it was the warmth in his half-smile, the way it crinkled the corners of his eyes, that hit me first, thawing something iced over in my chest I'd forgotten was there. "Eli Harper?" he said, glancing at his notepad, voice dropping to a gentle rumble. "Mind if I come in? We need to go over what happened." The living room looked like a war zone. Couch cushions gutted. My laptop screen cracked on the coffee table. Rain pooling from the busted door. "Officer Reyes?" "Alex," he insisted after the second round of questions. Moved with quiet efficiency, sealing off the entry, his flashlight beam sweeping corners like he was mapping my world back to safety. I sank onto the arm of the ruined couch, knees shaky, replaying the shadow I'd glimpsed fleeing into the alley. I don't know what they wanted," I muttered, rubbing my arms against the chill seeping in. "Rent's late, but I'm no mark for that." He knelt in front of me, notepad balanced on one knee, close enough that I caught the faint scent of sandalwood cologne cutting through the damp. "Hey, breathe. This city's got teeth, but you're not alone in it." His gaze held steady, not pitying, just present, like he'd seen 100 nights like this and still believed in dawn. We talked for an hour, statements, fingerprints, the drill, but it veered into the personal without warning. My job at the indie bookstore on Atlantic Avenue, how I'd moved from Ohio 2 years back chasing a dream of writing that mostly manifested as half-finished short stories in notebooks. His shift in the 78th precinct, the pull of family in the Bronx keeping him grounded amid the grind. By the time the crime scene techs cleared out and he taped a tarp over the door, the rain had eased to a drizzle, streetlights haloing the wet pavement outside. "I'll check back tomorrow," he said, handing me his card, fingers brushing mine in a spark that lingered. "Call if you need anything, day or night." I watched him descend the stairs, that broad back disappearing into the cruiser, taillights fading red into the night. The apartment felt emptier than before the break-in, but warmer too, like he'd left an ember glowing in the wreckage. Sleep didn't come easy that night. I lay staring at the ceiling cracks, replaying his voice, the way his laugh had rumbled low when I joked about my disastrous attempt at urban gardening killing the ficus by the window. Ohio memories crept in unbidden. The stifling summers, Dad's Bible-thumping disapproval when he found my hidden copy of Giovanni's Room, Mom's silent tears at the dinner table after I came out at 17. New York was supposed to be escape, reinvention, crowded subways and rooftop parties where I could be Eli, unapologetically queer, flirting with baristas and ghosting dates that fizzled too fast. But lately, it all felt like noise, drowning out the ache for something real. Morning brought gray light filtering through the tarp, and a knock that had me scrambling for sweatpants. Not Alex, but a locksmith from the precinct, burly and all business, fitting a new deadbolt while I brewed coffee in the chipped pot. My phone buzzed mid-sip, a text from an unknown number. "Morning, Eli. Locksmith en route? How'd you sleep? A.R. I smiled despite myself, thumbs flying, like a rock, or a paranoid insomniac. Thanks for the cavalry. His reply pinged back instant. Anytime. Grab lunch later? My treat, non-official capacity. That lunch stretched into the afternoon at a hole-in-the-wall taqueria on Knickerbocker, where the air hummed with salsa music and the sizzle of carne asada. Alex showed up out of uniform. Faded jeans, a black Henley that accentuated the ink peeking from his sleeve, a tattoo I itched to trace. We split a plate of tacos al pastor, trading stories over horchata that was too sweet and perfect. He grew up in a sprawling Puerto Rican family, abuelas eras con gandals the anchor through his parents' divorce. The academy his ticket out of dead-end jobs. Badge fits, he said, shrugging, but his eyes shadowed when he mentioned the toll, the shootings he'd responded to, the faces that haunted quiet moments. You're good at this, I said, gesturing vaguely at the space between us, making the heavy stuff feel lighter. He leaned back, chair scraping the linoleum, that half-smile returning. Comes with the territory. Or maybe it's you. First call of the day, and here I am, spilling my guts over lunch. The check came, and he insisted, slipping cash to the waiter with a nod. Walking me to the subway, our shoulders brushed, electric in the crisp fall air. Text me when you're home safe? He asked, and I nodded, boarding the train with my pulse thrumming like a live wire. The next weeks blurred into a rhythm I hadn't known I craved. Texts turned to calls. Late-night voice memos about a brutal shift or a breakthrough on a chapter I'd finally finished. Coffee runs morphed into dinners. Dim sum in Chinatown, where he taught me to wield chopsticks like a pro. A walk through Prospect Park at dusk, leaves crunching underfoot as we skirted the lake, his hand grazing mine once, twice, before pulling back with a chuckle that didn't reach his eyes. He was out to his family, he said over whiskey sours at a speakeasy in Williamsburg. Proudly so, with a sister who flew the rainbow flag from her stoop. But the job? Departments changing, but slow. Don't need the whispers turning into roadblocks. I got it, or tried to. My own scars ran deep. The ex from college who'd ghosted after a homophobic slur from his frat brothers. The parade of grinder hookups that left me hollow. With Alex, it was different. Conversations that peeled back layers. Laughter that echoed genuine. One night, after a showing of Moonlight at the Alamo Drafthouse, we lingered in the parking lot, the screen door slapping shut behind us. That film, he murmured, leaning against his truck. Hits different when you've lived pieces of it. Our eyes met, the air thick with unsaid things, and then he stepped closer, thumb brushing my jaw, lips meeting mine in a kiss that tasted of popcorn and promise. Soft, searching, igniting everything dormant. We tumbled into it after that, stolen moments stacking like kindling. His off-duty shifts meant crashing at my place. Bodies curling under threadbare quilts. Whispers tracing collarbones in the dark. Not rushing, savoring. The press of his palm against my back. The way he'd murmur Spanish endearments when sleep tugged him under. Me lose, he'd breathe. And I'd lie awake, marveling at how someone built like a fortress could hold me so tenderly. But cracks spiderwebbed in, subtle at first. A canceled date when a double shift pulled him away. His voice tight on the line. Sorry, Eli. Rain check. Then another, excuses piling like autumn leaves. I buried it in work, shelving dog-eared copies of Call Me by Your Name while stealing glances at my phone, willing it to light up. The break-in investigation dragged. 2. No leads. Just a vague description of a hooded figure that could have been anyone in this city of shadows. It was mid-November, wind whipping brownstone stoops into frenzy, when the call came. Eli? It's Alex. Can you meet me at the precinct? Now. His tone was clipped, urgent, the warmth edged with something brittle. I arrived 20 minutes later, coat flapping like a flag of surrender, the bullpen buzzing with fluorescent hum and ringing phones. He met me in the lobby, uniform starched, face drawn under the harsh lights. Come on, he said, leading me to an interview room that smelled of stale coffee and regret. The door clicked shut, and he paced, hands raking through his hair. They got a hit on the prints from your place. Belongs to a guy named Marco Ruiz, petty thief, but he's connected. Low-level stuff, but... He stopped, eyes locking on mine, stormy. He's my cousin. Distant, but blood. I didn't know until the report crossed my desk this morning. The words landed like a gut punch, air whooshing from my lungs. You're... What? I gripped the table edge, knuckles blanching. Marco Ruiz, the shadow in my nightmares, the reason my locks were triple-bolted. And Alex, my Alex, tied to him by threads I couldn't sever with a glare. I swear, Eli, I had no idea. Family's big, messy. Haven't seen him since we were kids. His voice cracked, plea raw. But now it's conflict of interest. I'm off your case and... has gotta pause. Internal Affairs is sniffing around. One wrong move and I'm suspended. Or worse. Betrayal bloomed hot in my throat. Words tumbling sharp. Pause? Like I'm a bad habit you can shelve? You waltz in. Light up my wreckage. And now this. Your blood breaks into my life. Literally. And you think pause fixes it. I shoved back from the table, chair screeching. Get out of my head, Alex. All of it. He reached for me, but I flinched, storming out into the cold. His Eli wait. Swallowed by the slam of the door. The subway ride home blurred through tears I refused to acknowledge. Brooklyn unfolding like a bad dream. Back in the apartment, I hurled his card into the trash. The tarp long gone but the chill eternal. That night, sleep came in fits, haunted by the ghost of his touch. The ember he'd kindled now ash. Days bled into weeks, the city's relentless pulse mocking my stasis. I threw myself into the bookstore grind, recommending the Song of Achilles to wide-eyed undergrads, alphabetizing queer lit sections that suddenly felt like indictments. My notebook gathered dust. Words that once flowed for Alex now clotted, tangled in resentment. Friends noticed. Jenna from the coffee counter cornered me one shift, her pixie cut bobbing as she thrust a pumpkin spice latte my way. Spill, Harper. You look like someone kicked your puppy. I deflected with a shrug, but she persisted, dragging me to a trivia night at Barcade that devolved into shots and bad karaoke. Midway through belting Wicked Game, my phone buzzed in my pocket. Unknown number, but the area code screamed Bronx. I silenced it, but the pull was magnetic, a tether I couldn't fully snap. Later, buzzed and boneless on the walk home, I fished it out. I know you're screening me. Just hear me out. Please. The please undid me, fingers hovering before typing. What's left to say? His reply was instant, a barrage. Everything. Coffee? Neutral ground. No badge, no bullshit. Against every screaming instinct, I agreed, neutral ground being the dingy Starbucks on Flatbush, where baristas didn't know our history and the Wi-Fi was spotty enough to force face-to-face. He was already there when I arrived, nursing a black coffee in a corner booth, looking smaller in a hoodie and jeans, shadows under his eyes like bruises. No uniform armor, just Alex, vulnerable, frayed at the edges. Thanks for coming, he started, voice low as I slid in opposite. I fucked up. Not knowing about Marco, that's on the family fractures I never bridged. But pulling away, that was fear, Eli. Mine. I stirred my chai unnecessarily, steam curling like smoke signals. Fear of what? Getting suspended? Or admitting this city's small when it wants to be? The words bit harder than intended, but he took it, nodding slow. Both. And losing you before I even had you. He leaned forward, elbows on the scarred table, eyes pleading. Marco's small time in and out of juvie since teens. Abuela shielded him, said he was troubled. But I kept distance. Works my line in the sand. A beat, then quieter. But you? You're the first thing in years that feels like more than duty. The admission hung, fragile as the foam on his cup. I wanted to bolt, to armor up with sarcasm, but his honesty cracked mine. It gutted me, Alex. That night. You were my safe harbor. Then bam, the storms from your shore. We talked then, raw and unfiltered. His guilt over Marco's arrest. The cousin had lawyered up, claiming mistaken identity, but Prince didn't lie. The department's probe that had him walking eggshells. My own confessions spilled. the isolation of starting over, how his warmth had been the first real thaw since Ohio's frost. By the time we parted, his hand lingering on my arm, a ghost of that first spark, the air felt less poisoned. Slow, I warned, pulling away. No rushing the debris. He nodded, and for a week, we tiptoed. Texts like breadcrumbs, a walk in McCarran Park where leaves skittered like secrets, hands brushing but not clasping. Romance rebuilt tentative, like stacking Jenga blocks. Dinner at his sister's, where Sophia Reyes enveloped me in hugs and plied me with tostins, her rainbow flag fluttering from the brownstone like a welcome mat. "Alex don't shut down easy," she whispered while he grilled in the yard. "But when he does, it's 'cause he cares too much." It was almost convincing, this fragile peace, until the betrayal's second act dropped like a grenade. Late shift at the store, holiday lights twinkling prematurely in the window, when my phone lit with a news alert. Bronx cop under investigation for familial ties to burglary ring. The grainy photo was unmistakable. Alex, mid-mugshot glare no, wait Marco, but the article drilled deeper. Whispers of Ruiz clan involvement in a string of B&Es across boroughs, and Officer Alexander Reyes named in the probe for potential obstruction. My stomach plummeted. I clicked through, heart hammering, anonymous sources claiming he'd tipped off family, delayed reports. Bullshit. My gut screamed, but doubt slithered in, venomous. I texted him frantic. Saw the article. True? No reply. Calls went to voicemail, his voice gravelly. Leave a message. By closing time, panic clawed, had I been played? The warmth a con, the kisses a cover? I cabbed to the precinct, rain lashing the windows like accusations, bursting into the lobby where a desk sergeant eyed me wary. Reyes? Suspended pending review. Try his place. His place. I'd been twice, memorized the route in a haze of afterglow. The Bronx walk-up was modest. Fire escapes laced with Christmas lights premature. And when I buzzed, silence answered. Pounding yielded a neighbor's scowl. Haven't seen him since yesterday, Mijo. Try the lights. Looks like trouble. Desperation propelled me to his sister's. The flag sodden now. Sophia answering in curlers and concern. Eli? He's not here, vanished after the story broke. Said something about clearing his head. Her hand squeezed mine. He's clean, I swear. Family drama's old as the river. But Alex? He'd never. I crashed on her couch that night. The city snoring beyond the walls, mind reeling through scenarios. Alex cornered, fleeing judgment. Or worse, guilty. The warmth a meticulously crafted lure. Dawn brought a voicemail. Time-stamped 3 a.m. Eli, it's bad. They suspended me, pulled my gun, the works. Marco's talking, saying I knew. I didn't, but there's more. Meet me at the old spot? Pier 17, sunrise. I was there before the sun crested. Gulls wheeling over the East River. Ferries cutting wakes like scars. He emerged from the fog, duffel slung over shoulder, face haggard, stubble silvered by the light. Going to my Tio's in Jersey, he said without preamble, voice wrecked. Lay low till IA clears this mess. Marco's lying. Protecting higher-ups, throwing me under to cut a deal. And me, I demanded, wind whipping my scarf. Am I collateral? Another loose end. His eyes shattered. No, God, no. You're why I'm fighting this. He stepped close, hands cupping my face, thumbs tracing cheekbones. I love you, Eli. Stupid, reckless. First time I've said it to anyone. But if I'm toxic right now. The confession buckled me, tears hot against his palms. Don't you dare vanish. Fight dirty if you have to. We'll do it together. We clung there, river murmuring benediction. The kiss that followed fierce, a vow against the unraveling. But Jersey exile stretched, text sporadic, his updates laced with frustration. Lawyers, depositions, the department's glacial bureaucracy. I visited weekends, train rides blurring into stolen hours in a cramped motel off the turnpike, where we'd map escape plans on napkins, laughter brittle but real. When this blows over, he'd murmur, fingers laced with mine. We're getting out. Weekend in the Catskills. Just us and the stars. Hope flickered, but betrayal's shadow loomed. Christmas approached, Manhattan aglow with Rockefeller excess, and I strung lights in my apartment solo, the new deadbolt mocking my solitude. A package arrived unmarked, notebook from our first walk, pages filled with his scrawl. Half poems, sketches of my hand in his. Tucked inside, a note. Hold this till I'm back. You're my anchor. You should have steadied me, but doubt gnawed. Then, the call from Sophia, voice trembling. Eli, it's Marco. He confessed, everything. Alex is cleared, but there's fallout. Departments offering reinstatement, but with strings. Transfers him to Queens, desk duty. Relief crashed, then suspicion. Strings? I confronted him on my next visit, motel room stuffy with takeout cartons. What aren't you saying? He sighed, rubbing temples. They want me to flip on the family. Wear a wire, testify. Uncle Joey's deep in it, loan sharking the burglary's affront. His jaw tightened. Refuse and it's early retirement. Or jail time for obstruction. Even if it's fabricated. The room spun. So choose, us or them? It's not that simple, he snapped, then softened, pulling me close. But it's you, Eli. Always. We made love then, slow and anchoring, bodies mapping forgiveness. Yet as he dozed, phone buzzing ignored, I stared at the ceiling, wondering if blood truly watered down thinner than we'd hoped. New Year's Eve found us back in Brooklyn. My place transformed with fairy lights and a borrowed fondue pot. Countdown ticking on a muted TV. We danced to old Motown in socks, his chin on my shoulder, whispering futures. Write that book, he urged. I'll be your muse, bad cop, good heart. Fireworks bloomed outside, and in that magnesium flare, I believed him, us bulletproof. January thawed the sidewalks into slush, but the chill in Alex's world deepened. Reinstatement came with fanfare. A quiet ceremony in the precinct basement, brass clapping him on the back like he'd survived a war. Desk duty chafed, though. He paced my apartment evenings, tie loosened, griping about paperwork stacks taller than his abuela's tamales. Feels like purgatory, he'd mutter, collapsing beside me on the couch. Head in my lap as I read aloud from red, white, and royal blue. Our ritual, his fingers tracing lazy circles on my thigh. I thrived in the glow, words pouring onto pages again. A novella sketched in stolen hours. Protagonist a jaded writer tumbling for a guardian in blue. Echoes of us woven subtle. The bookstore buzzed with post-holiday slump, but Jenna's nudges turned to cheers. Finally, Harper's lit up like a firecracker. And even my agent pinged interest. A coffee meet slotted for Valentine's. Life against odds bent toward bloom. But betrayal's third strike brewed subterranean, bubbling up on a February night raw as exposed nerves. I'd planned surprise. Dinner at Gage and Tallner, candles and oysters, his favorite. He was late, texts curt. Stuck at shift. Go ahead. By 9 p.m., wine soured in my glass. I cabbed home alone, the brownstones blurring reproachful. My door hung ajar. Deja vu slamming, but no glass this time, just violation sutler. Drawers rifled, my notebook gone. Laptop humming open to an email draft half sent to my agent. Panic surged, 911 redialed muscle memory. Uniforms swarmed again, but not Alex. His precinct sister role, a wiry sergeant named Patel taking notes with clinical detachment. Any enemies? Exes? She probed, and I laughed bitter, shaking my head. But as she dusted for prints, my phone lit. Alex, finally. Where are you? Home. I hissed into the receiver, voice echoing in the chaos. Someone broke in. Again. Silence, then a choked, I'm coming. Now. He burst through 20 minutes later, uniform askew, eyes wild as he shouldered past text to pull me into a hug that bordered desperate. Jesus, Eli. You okay? Over my shoulder, he scanned the room, jaw clenching at the disarray. Patel cornered him subtle, notepad flipping. Reyes? You know the Vic. Personally, yeah. He cut in, arm still around me. But I'm recused. Full disclosure. She nodded, but her glance lingered, speculative. Later, after statements and seals, we collapsed on the fire escape, city lights a distant constellation. This can't be random, I said, passing him a beer from the mini-fridge. Notebooks gone, my draft, everything. His face darkened, bottle pausing mid-sip. Marco's crew. Retaliation, words out, I'm cooperating. The admission landed heavy. He'd started the wire work weeks back. Tense stakeouts in unmarked cars. Family dinners laced with hidden mics. Joey's paranoid now. Thinks I'm the leak. Fear coiled in my gut, cold and coiling. And me? I'm your Achilles heel, aren't I? He set the beer down, turning to face me, hands framing my shoulders. You're my strength, Eli. This, us. It's what keeps me going straight. The kiss that followed was fierce, claiming, but doubt lingered like smoke after the blast. The high wore thin as spring teased buds on the parkway trees. Alex's ops intensified. Late nights bleeding into dawns, his returns hollowed, smelling of takeout and tension. I'd wake to empty sheets, coffee cold, notes scrawled. Love you. Back soon. My writing stalled, paranoia threading nightmares. Shadows at the window, Marco's sneer from a mugshot I'd Googled in weak moments. Sophia became confidant, her kitchen a sanctuary of cafecito and counsel. He's all in, she assured one drizzly afternoon, stirring flan. But family's a hydra. Cut one head, two grow. Her eyes misted. Lost my brother to that life years back. Don't let it take Alex. Her words haunted, propelling me to fight back. I started locking not just doors but patterns. Varying routines, a can of mace in my bag, therapy sessions unpacking the break-ins echo on my psyche. The agent meeting yielded a contract nibble. Raw, real, lean into the heart, she said over lattes. Emboldened, I poured it out, chapters flying, Alex's valor fictionalized as quiet heroism. Climax brewed in May, humidity thick as deceit. Alex called mid-afternoon, voice electric. It's done. Bust goes down tonight, Joey's cornered. Elation surged, but caution tempered. Be safe. Promise. Always. For you. That night, I paced the apartment. TV muted on Met's reruns. Phone clutched like talisman. Sirens wailed distant, then closer, heart lurching with each. By midnight, no word. Panic dialed Sophia, her line busy. Then the knock, urgent, splintering the quiet. Not Alex, but detectives, badges glinting under the hall light. Mr. Harper? We need to talk. Inside, they perched on my couch like crows, one flipping a recorder, the other sliding photos across the table. Grainy surveillance stills of Alex meeting Joey in a shadowed lot, envelopes exchanged, bribes? My world tilted. Your boyfriend's dirty, the lead said, tone flat. Tipped the family. Walker's in on it, protecting kin over oath. Denial roared, but evidence mounted. Wire logs tampered. Marco's testimony flipped to implicate Alex as ringleader. He played you, the second added, almost gentle. Sorry, kid. They left me adrift, photos scorching my palms. I confronted the evidence alone, tears salting the images. His profile, unmistakable, guilt etched in shadow. Betrayal crested, a tidal wave. The warmth of facade, love a lie spun from necessity. Dawn broke gray, and I packed a bag. Ohio calling like a siren's retreat. Mom's voice on voicemail soft. Come home, Eli. Heal. But as I zipped the duffel, keys jangling judgment, my phone shattered the silence. Alex? Frantic. Eli, don't believe the feeds, it's a setup. Joey's desperate, feeding lies to IA. Meet me, Central Park, Bethesda Fountain. Please. Torn, I went, cab weaving through morning traffic, doubt warring hope. The fountain burbled serene, tourists milling oblivious. He appeared disheveled, no uniform, eyes hunted. They planted it, he rushed, grabbing my hands. The meats? Controlled me, luring him in. Logs faked by a mole in the department, Joey's plant. Proof? He thrust a flash drive. Audio files. Timestamps aligning his story. Conversations damning Joey. Alex's voice steady. It's over, T.O. Turn yourself in. My knees buckled. Relief warring fury. Why not tell me? All this secrecy, I thought. Fear, he admitted, voice breaking, of dragging you under. But losing you? That's the real crime. We sank to the steps, his head on my shoulder, sobs muffled in my shirt. The mighty oak felled. Summer scorched the asphalt into mirages, but our reckoning unfolded in the park's dappled shade, words carving deeper than heat. I clutched the drive like contrition, questions spilling. How deep does this go? Who's the mole? Alex's jaw worked, shadows lengthening his face. Patel's clean weight, no, is higher. Captain Hale, old family friend of Joey's, covering tracks for years. The bust last night? Half the crew nabbed, but Hale tipped the rest off. Chaos. Sirens wailed faint, underscoring the fracture. And you? I pressed, voice threadbare. Cleared? Or collateral? He straightened, resolve hardening. Suspended again, but I've got the files, enough to bury them. Going public. IA? Feds if needed. His hand found mine, squeeze fierce. But us? If you can forgive the shadows I cast. Forgiveness wasn't absolution, but a bridge wobbly, but spanning. Together, I echoed our peer vow. No more solos. We walked out arm-in-linked, the city parting like it sensed the shift. Hale cab to my place where I brewed tea strong as intent. The storm broke that week. Alex's evidence leaked to the Times, headlines screaming badge of corruption. Bronx cop exposes ring. Protests flared outside the precinct. Queer activists waving signs for his reinstatement. Families of victims chanting justice. Hale resigned in disgrace. Joey and Marco buried under indictments that stuck. Through it, Alex holed up at my apartment, fielding calls from lawyers and reporters, his vulnerability a quiet revelation. Pacing in boxers, vulnerability cracking the cop facade. I wrote feverishly, the novella morphing. Climax of betrayal unmasked not by fists but truth. Lovers emerging scarred but whole. My agent swooped, delinked. This sings, Eli. Raw Americana. Queer hearts in the grind. Book tour whispers followed, but I grounded in us. Mornings tangled in sheets, his laughter rumbling over pancakes. Evenings on the roof, skyline sprawling benevolent. Fall painted the borough gold and reinstatement came. Promotion even to detective desk traded for streets with oversight. Our first official date post-storm? Yankee Stadium, cheap seats under overcast skies. Hot dog soggy but joy pure. He draped his jacket over my shoulders mid-inning. Kiss stealing bases in the roar. This, he murmured against my temple, is home. Yet humanism's thread wove bittersweet. Marco's trial loomed. Family schisms eternal. Abuela visited once, rosary clicking, eyes pleading forgiveness. Alex granted tear-streaked in my kitchen. Sangre es sangre, she whispered, but he shook his head gentle. But truth is thicker, Abuelita. She left with a blessing, the rift mending slow as seasons. Winter blanketed Brooklyn in hush, holidays healed in layers. Sophia's table groaned under pernil and pastels. My Ohio parents zooming tentative. Dad's gruff, proud of you, son, a milestone. Mom's smile thawing old ice. Alex proposed no knee, no ring. Just on New Year's, fireworks blooming as he knelt by the window. Marry me, Eli? Not perfect, but yours. Tears blurred the yes. Ring simple. Silver band etched with me lose. Slipped on over cheers from gathered friends. The wedding was spring affair. Prospect Park under dogwoods. Jenna officiating with flair. Vows exchanged raw. In wreckage and warmth, I choose you. Years folded forward. My book hit shelves. Tour weaving coasts. Alex's cases cracking cold files with empathy honed by us. A brownstone in Bed-Stuy became home. Fire escape blooming with actual plants. His abuela's recipes scenting Sundays. Fatherhood whispered eventual. Adoption papers in quiet discussion. A family forged not blood but bond. But the story's heart pulsed humanistic. No fairy dust. Scars lingered. Therapy Tuesdays unpacking triggers. Nights when sirens yanked him from sleep. My pages sometimes drying up under doubt's weight. Yet in those fractures, grace bloomed. Conversations deepening roots. Touches reaffirming. One anniversary. Atop the Empire State. City sprawling infinite below. He pulled me close. That break-in? Best thing that happened. Brought me you. I laughed, wind tousling our hair, hand over his heart. Warmth that stayed. I echoed, and in that American tapestry. Grit and glitter, betrayal to belonging. We wrote our ending. Not flawless, but fiercely human. Love the light enduring long after the storm.